Retaining walls fail for a number of reasons, and I want you guys and gals out there that are installing retaining walls to learn a few tips and tricks of the trade that will help you improve your installation skills and will separate yourselves kind of from the herd. What I'm going to take you to is the site today that is really common of why a retaining wall falls apart. The first thing that we look at is the choice of blocks. A lot of times landscapers will migrate towards the cheapest block, and they tend to be hollow and have a lip on the back. And they're solid on the top, and then they're hollow on the bottom. And what happens is water can get trapped in there between the cavity, and it has nowhere to go. And then it goes through a freeze-thaw cycle, it expands, contracts, and it pushes the blocks over. They also have an inadequate pinning system, so instead of... They're solid on the top, hollow on the bottom, because they're light. They're easy to pick up and they're fast. You see they have their connection method is this lip right here. This lip connects the block to the block below it. So let's look. Here, let's look behind this wall. Instead of having pins that you drive down and through the blocks, they just rely on a little tiny lip on the back of the block. They place the block on top and then they simply slide it forward until this lip touches the back of the block. Once it touches, that's hands off and you're done. It's as simple as that. There's no pins, there's no mechanical connection method to keep this block from moving anywhere else other than the weight of the block itself. What happens is that lip, as soon as it experiences a little bit of ground movement, a freeze-thaw cycle, or maybe an earthquake or something else, it pushes up, it pushes over, and now there's nothing connecting it to the block below. And that's where these blocks fail, because they're hollow. Remember, they're hollow on the bottom side, so they're lighter. I want you to see something here. This is what happens behind the blocks. Look at right there. We'll pan in a little bit. The blocks lift up because there's no mechanical methods. As the ground moves, the blocks, which are right there perfectly fine, get forced up and over, and now just that lip isn't even holding them anymore. Another thing that they do is they don't put enough drainage aggregate in behind the retaining walls. And so what happens, instead of the wall being able to weep evenly behind and through the base of the wall, it gets trapped and it has hydrostatic pressure builds up and blows out these retaining walls. Settlement, improper compaction, you can see how much the grade is dropped. It's a common occurrence, and really it becomes evident when the grades settle behind the wall. So instead of being flush with the cap units, it drops down below the cap unit. So the cap unit may be here, the grade is supposed to be here, and allow the water to fall over the face of the wall. If this is the face, it falls down the face, but instead the grade settles and the water comes down and goes behind the wall. And so what happens is the wall is here, the water gets trapped, it has to perk through it, and if they don't have enough drainage aggregate, it creates a belly. So all of a sudden that wall gets fatter and fatter and fatter, and pretty soon it just blows out and falls over. Settlement, improper compaction, you can see how much the grade is dropped. It's jeopardizing this deck over here. And then the unfortunate truth is, a lot of landscape companies use these same installation methods because it's fast, cheap, easy, and they can get on to the next one. This is also what I want. This is also the way I want you to separate yourself from those companies. I want you to explain what you're learning in this video to your customers. Why retaining walls fail, how yours are different than everybody else's, what they will typically install, and why you won't, why you will use a different type of block. My preferred block is a Versalock standard unit. It's solid, it's pinned together. It just has a lot of benefits, and I explain that to my customers, and I explain to them what I will be bidding against. When they get their comparative quotes, I tell them 9 times out of 10 this will be the block that they'll get. Another thing is these retaining walls, they don't slowly go. They pop like a balloon. I want you to imagine you're blowing up a balloon and you're blowing it up. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden it just pops. It it just ruptures. And that's what happens when you get one heavy rainstorm. As soon as you think a wall is in a state of failure, it's probably already been in a state of failure for weeks, months, maybe even years. And it's only going to take one occurrence, one event, one heavy rainstorm. It's going to be the event. It doesn't even have to be an unusual rainstorm. It's any rainstorm is going to create that. It's going to finish the retaining wall off. Plain and simple. It's just going to be enough to push it over the edge. So I'm going to show you this site. I hope that you guys can separate yourself from the rest. You can learn a little bit something. What I like to do is when I sell a job, I like to describe it that I'm going to use a solid block so no water can get inside the core units themselves. I'm going to take 2 pins and physically drive them from one block into the next block below it. I'm also going to use 12 inches minimum of drainage aggregate behind the retaining wall. And then I'm going to use a deep base of drainage aggregate as well. You use those simple principles, you describe the techniques, you tell what other companies will typically do, so when you're bidding apples to apples. And another way I like to describe this is I like to tell my customers that when they're looking at comparative quotes, make sure that the key components are there, the critical elements to a successful retaining wall are there. They're using a good block in the first place. They're using a good amount of base material underneath the wall and a good amount of base drainage aggregate behind the retaining wall. When you do those things and you're able to describe those things with clarity and you're able to convey that level of quality that you intend to install on your projects, your close rate is going to go up. So I want you to be able to differentiate yourself from your competition. Learn what makes a retaining wall fail. Learn how you can sell yourself on retaining walls, what you do differently. This is the key element. What do you do differently? Describe that process to your customers, and they are going to go with you based on trust and integrity and the level of quality that they want to purchase. These are big decisions. When a customer is going to be doing a retaining wall like this behind me, they don't necessarily want to go for the cheapest person out there. They want to go with someone that they trust is going to do a good job. You're the professional. You got to understand your customers, they don't understand retaining walls. When you can break it down into its simplest components and deliver that message clearly and quickly to your customer, your close rate is going to show. It's going to improve. So I love you guys. I hope this message has helped. Please hit the like button.